Alright, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this video. In today's video, what we're going to be doing is installing Windows Server 2019 in our VirtualBox uh, application. So in the last video, we would have covered how to actually install VirtualBox, and in the video right directly before this, we would have went into how to install Windows 10 directly into our virtual machine or VirtualBox itself. So you can see here that I still have that machine, just for showcase purposes. And in today, or for today, what we're going to be doing is installing that Windows Server. So first things first, what we're going to be doing is opening up any preferred browser to the Google Drive, and we're going to be downloading. Of course, if you want 2016, you can right click and just right click, go to download, and it should download the file for you. In my experience, I was not able rather to run Windows Server successfully, or specifically 2016. So I'm going to be running the 2019 version. So I'm going to right click on this, go to download, let it scan for viruses. It's going to see that you cannot scan for viruses, which is fine. We're going to click on download anyway. And on your browser, depending on what you have, it should uh, greet us with a warning or sorry, a pop-up showing the progress of the download. So for now, I'm going to cancel this. Of course, in your case, if you don't have the file already, you would, well, download it, right? Um, so yeah, you would of course download the file and wait for it to download. In my case, however, I do have that already downloaded. Uh, in your case, it should be in your downloads. In my case, however, I had moved it to my ISOs file in my documents. And here is the ENUS Windows Server 2019 x64 DVD ISO. So we want to keep note of where this ISO is, of course. It's going to be in my ISOs folder. I would recommend that you have a dedicated place to put your ISOs, whether that be an external drive or on your internal storage, whatever the case may be. Just know that you know, or just make sure that you know where that ISO is that you require. So in this case, I'm going to open up VirtualBox. And as you can see, we are greeted with the last machine that we would have made or run, right? And yeah, so we're gonna be creating a new VirtualBox or a new virtual machine rather, right? So we're gonna click on new on the top here. We want to give this machine a name, of course. So what do we want to call this? We want to call this Showcase Windows Server 2019. 2019, there we go. And this will be the folder that it is creating into, right? So right, we are this folder or this file path is where the actual virtual machine will be created, and then we have the ISO image. Now this is important. We want to go to the ISO that we downloaded previously. In this case, it would be Windows Server 2019. In your case, however, it might be 2016. So just keep that in mind. So we click on Open here, and for the edition, you can see that we have Windows Server 2019 Standard. This is not what we want. We, in fact, want the desktop experience. We want that GUI experience, right? So we're going to move away from Standard and we're going to go into desktop experience. So Standard, desktop experience. Click on that. And then we want to click on Skip Unattended Installation. Then we're going to click on Next. So now we want to allocate some resources to our virtual machine. So for the sake of this, let's allocate about 4 cores and 4 gigs of RAM. Yes, so depending on what your machine has already, depending on your specifications, you can allocate different memory standards, different CPUs, whatever the case may be. In my case, I'm fortunate enough to be able to allocate that 8 gigs of RAM to my original Windows Server 2019. However, for demonstration purposes, I'm just gonna allocate about 4 gigs of RAM and 4 cores of my CPU. In your case, however, you may allocate more, you may allocate less, depending on your machine's capabilities. So we're gonna click on next here for now. And now it's asking us to create that virtual hard disk. Like I always recommend, I always encourage to run a minimum of about 64 gigs, just so that, especially if it's a virtual machine that you're going to be running frequently, just so that you, of course, have enough storage to the point where you can, well, actually use the virtual machine, but also so that you don't have to worry about any storage restrictions or storage restricted activities that you would want to do with this virtual machine. You can allocate more, you can allocate less. Of course, this is just dependent on what you want to do specifically. So we're going to click on next here for now, and it's going to give us a summary. Just make sure and review everything that has been said here, right? Select the machine name, machine folder, which is where the machine will actually be stored. The ISO image folder is correct, so yeah. The guest type OS, so yeah, this would be correct. Skip unattended install, sorry, which is true. Make sure your hardware is correct as well. So we have our 4 gigs of RAM or 4096 megabytes of RAM and our 4-core CPU or 4 cores. We also have our disk space, 64 gigs of storage, and we want our pre-allocate full size to false. We're going to finish this, and we should now have our showcase Windows Server 2019. So let's go ahead and start this machine up and get the installation up and running. So look at it here in the right hand side, you would see that we are powering up the virtual machine, and now we are in the actual interface. So we're loading up here. I'm gonna just full screen this here for now. On the right hand side again, you can see that I have mouse integration there, and I'm gonna clear this here for now just to make it a bit easier. But yeah, we can see that we now have the prompt here to install Windows Server 2019. So just for now, I'm going to install this in English United States and the time and currency format to be in the English United States. My keyboard is in fact a US layout, but if you have to make changes to these, you can make them now. If you don't, however, and later on you would want to make changes, you can feel free to do that within the operating system itself. So there's no set in stone options here for now. So I'm going to click on next here, and then I'm going to click on install now. So setup is starting, as we can see on the bottom there. Based on the prior experience with Windows 10, where where I um where I allocated 2 cores instead of 4 cores with Windows Server, it may take a significant significantly less time to actually install. Not to mention this is being done on my SSD for this time. So yeah, looks like we have Windows Server 2019. Make sure the desktop experience is selected. Right, of course we want the standard version. We're gonna click next here. And yeah, so we of course want to read and make sure we understand the terms and licenses that Microsoft has. We of course want to sign away our souls to Microsoft because that's exactly what we are made to do. When you're comfortable and you read these terms and you sell your soul to Microsoft, of course you can click next. And we are greeted with 2 options here with the installation type. So we have upgrade, install Windows, and keeps file. So this is if you already have Windows installed. In this case, in our virtual hard drive or our hard disk, we do not have it installed. So we're going to go with the custom install or install Windows only advanced. And as you can see, the Windows setup detected our unallocated space, which is 64 gigs, so our hard disk. So we're just going to refresh here just to make sure that it doesn't see any other drives and to make sure that it is the correct drive that we are installing to. Looks like no other drives were found, so we're going to click on next here. Right, we're going to give that a second. And yeah, so we should now be greeted with the actual installation of Windows Server 2019. So of course, this may take a while, even though if it's on an SSD, of course it will take significantly less time if it was on a hard drive. But yeah, we just want to sit here, or not sit here really. You can do whatever you want in the meantime. But you want to, of course, sit here or pay attention to when the installation is finished. And after this install, or after this reaches 100, and it goes through all the installing features and updates, of course, it will restart. So you want to be there for that actual restart and to actually set up the machine. So I'm going to pause the recording here for now and let this finish install. It shouldn't be too long uh, because of the SSD, but depending on your scenario, it may be either slower or faster. So I'm going to pause here for now and I'll be back when it is about 100%. All right, so it looks like the Windows installation is almost complete here. We got the actual installation down, so the percentage here would have reached 100%. And then we went on to install features, which was relatively quick. And now we're just installing any updates that the ISO has. Now we're going to be finishing up, which could be a collection of different things, whether that be clearing up the cache or just applying any updates or anything that may have been missed or anything like that. But nevertheless, we do have the prompt here to restart. So it will restart your virtual machine, and most likely it will boot into the what's it with into the virtual hard disk now. So it wouldn't need the ISO. So this would be our first experience with Windows Server 2019, specifically on our hard disk or virtual hard disk. And as you can see there, based on the Windows logo or based on the Windows loading circle, it is a bit laggy. And this is probably because I allocated about 4 GB of RAM. It would be running a bit smoother if I allocated maybe that full 8 GB, but for the sake of the showcase, I just allocated 4. Nevertheless, looks like we're restarting here again. And of course, it may show this if you have a CD or DVD drive allocated to, or specifically with VirtualBox. I do, so it does show that option. But in your case, if you don't have a virtual drive, or sorry, DVD drive, it should not affect you. All right, so looks like we're going to be creating a administrator account together with any password that we wish. I'm not going to be leaving a password for that. Okay, so it looks like we do have to leave a password, which is to be expected. It is an administrator account, so we don't want anyone or any unauthorized personnel to be accessing this account. So I'm gonna put in my super secret password here. Um, yeah, cool. So let's go ahead and just make note of that here. That is my password, okay. Uh, yeah, so we're gonna finish that and we should be in our GUI. So we're on the login screen here. We can open this up. So we're gonna click on Control Alt and Delete to unlock. We unfortunately cannot do that because of the complications with the actual operating system running under it. Just give me one moment here. All right, so my apologies there on that, but essentially what I did here was instead of having my keyboard connected to my actual operating system, which is Windows 10 in this case, instead what I did is I clicked on the USB icon, which was on the bottom here, and changed my keyboard so that it is specifically for VirtualBox itself alone. So that's how I'm able to use my keyboard right now. So in this case, I hit Control Alt Delete to unlock the computer, and I'm gonna enter my super secret secure password here. And it looks like we are greeted with some prompts here, nothing to be too concerned about. And we are greeted with the main points, or specifically the main well application as to what Windows Server is about. So we can see here that we have a bunch of different options, and this will be primarily what you would be interacting with in terms of Windows Server. Other than that, however, it is pretty much the same as Windows. Of course, it lacks the actual applications of Windows itself, and of course, it does have these specific compatibility and applications required to run a server from here. Um, and yeah, that's essentially all you would need to do to run and install Windows Server 2019. So I'm gonna close all of this here for now. I'm gonna shut down my machine. And yeah, what you notice here is that if to shut down your machine, you need to specify a reason that you would want to shut down your machine. Another way that you can do shut down your machine, of course, is by closing the window overall, where you can save the machine state. You can send a shutdown signal, which is just like shutting down the machine here, or you can power off the machine, which is essentially just pulling the plug. In this case, I'm just gonna shut down just like a Windows install. So I'm gonna click on continue here with the reason being other unplanned. Continue. And as you can see, it's stopping all of the services before it actually shuts down. And I believe my keyboard is connected there. Yeah, so as the window would have closed, my keyboard would have returned back to normal. So that should be fine. And yeah, that has been how you run and install Windows Server 2019 in VirtualBox. So I hope this video was helpful. And if you do have any questions or problems, just feel free to let me know.